All right, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back. We are going to be continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We right now are in Bereshit, chapter 25, Genesis chapter 25. Um, let's see. Let us go ahead and just read through the first chapter, and then we will. I said the first chapter like there's multiple. Let's
start at the first verse.
start at the
Go
first
to the
verse,
last verse.
right, of the 25th chapter.
The 25th chapter.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Genesis chapter 25, verse 1. Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimron and Yoksha and Medan and Madan and Yishba and Shua. And Yoksha brought forth Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Asherim. And let him mean me. I can't say it like that. It says, and the sons of Media were Ephah and Epher and Hanuk and Abidah and Eldadah. All these were the children of Keturah. Now Abraham gave all that he had to Yitzchak. But the sons of the concubines who Abraham gave gifts while he was still living and sent them from his son Yitzchak eastward to the land of the east. And these all the years are all the years of Abraham's life which he had lived, 175 years. And Abraham breathed his last and died in the good old age. Aged and satisfied, was gathered to his people. And his sons lived in a cave of Machpelah, which before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, sons of Soar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Beth. And then there Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. And it came to be after the death of Abraham that Elohim blessed his son Yitzchak, and Yitzchak dwelt at Be'er Lahor Be'or. And there is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar, the Mitzrian, Sarah's female servant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nabor Yos, there Kedor and Abidel and Mibsam and Mishma and Duma and Massa, Hadar and Tima and Yetur and Nafish and Quidima. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were the names by their towns and settlements, 12 chiefs according to their tribes. And these were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. And they dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is the east Mizraim, as you go toward Ashur. He settled before all his brothers. And this is the Yitzchak, Abraham's son, Abraham, brought forth Yitzchak. And Yitzchak was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel and Aramin of Padan Ram, the sister of Laban of Aramin. And Yitzchak prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And Yahweh answered his prayer, and Rivka's wife, his wife conceived. And within her, the children struggled together, and she said, "If all is right, why am I this way?" So she went and asked Yahweh. And Yahweh said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples shall be separated from your body, and one people shall be stronger than the other. The older shall serve the younger." And when the days were fulfilled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. So they call his name Esau. And afterward, his brother came out in his hand holding onto Esau's heel. So the name of so his name was called Jacob. And Yitzchak was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt and a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man dwelling in tents. And Yitzchak loved Esau because he ate of the wild game, but Rivkah loved Jacob. And Jacob cooked the stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me that same stew, for I am weary. That is why my name is called Edom." And Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright today." And Esau said, "Look, I am going to die. So what should I have? A birthright. A birthright." Then Jacob said, "Swear to me today." And he swore to him and sold him his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and stew and lentils, and he ate and drank and rose up and left. And Esau despised his birthright.
Okay. All right. Very good. So let's go back over here and look at a few things. We look at the beginning of this chapter, we see a lot of names and, genealogies and so on and so forth. But what we want to do is look at a few things that we see over here. Just, when we look at these things, first of all, when we look at these scriptures, every bit of the scriptures, there's something that's useful in it. It's not like we have just like throwaway. There's not like throwaway parts in the scriptures. Like, right, I don't need this. It's not really that important. So there's something for us to be able to learn when we look at these scriptures, even though it seems as if it's sometimes kind of tedious in places. But one thing that we look and see when we see over and back in verse 1, where it says, "And Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah." It could be now that this doesn't mean anything, but it could be also that it means everything. Like, why are they telling us now about this other wife? Did he just now take the other wife? Or did he already have these other wives and now they're just telling you about? Yeah, yeah, like she been there the whole time, but now since Sarah's out the way, we could even talk about this other one. I don't know which one is the case.
Or was it because the first one afterwards is like talking about the kids that they had together?
Well, yeah. So if that's how we're
Is
gonna,
that relevant? Like, is it just
I'm saying, is that how you think it is, or you
I
just?
I guess I would say that what I'm comprehending is introducing these other lineage that he did. I never even paid that much attention. I always thought it was just Isaac and Ishmael. I probably overlooked that. But she obviously worded him like was that, four other sons? No. Six sons?
But when though? What's the timeline you think?
I mean, I don't know.
You think all this is after Sarah or
I don't know. I
during?
didn't even know
I
these
always
parties
assumed it was
existed.
after Sarah because of the time.
Like how it was
How
introduced,
it
yeah.
there has to be some
I thought it
significance if they're introducing her now and then along with her.
Well,
got no
it had to be after anyway because of the whole thing with how Ishmael was the only son and then
I think
Isaac.
everything has a reason and a purpose. So there has to be a reason for this.
Okay, so
introduction now.
I forgot she died.
there is a reason,
They don't have no choice but to say it.
but I like what you said over here, and that's kind of what I was the point that I wanted to bring out, the fact that if we think about all that happened with Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael and this whole problem with having children, and then Abraham being sad about Ishmael getting sent away, and then the Mosai tell him, "Don't be sad. You got your only son over here." All of that stuff, it kind of lessens that if he got all of these other ones over here already. If he already has sons, then what's the big deal? There ain't no big deal, right? If they're already there. It seems like to me that the placement of this is helping us to see that this is really like a life after that he had after Sarah. Because otherwise, it kind of lessens the whole plight of this whole wanting to have a child, through Sarah and her like giving the handmaiden and all this stuff, right? So I'm just saying to me,
He took a young fight.
what you mean?
What a slap in the face.
Oh, you saying why? Because she got.
Here you with this young tenderoni.
Well, I don't know if it's 3 days.
No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to.
He probably mourned at least 30 days.
I didn't know he had a young wife.
I know.
I was laughing at it.
So you saying she was young, just the fact that she had all these kids afterwards, or what?
Yeah, 14 and fertile. Wait,
Well,
what?
wait,
Drop down
hold on, wait a
the
second. No, wait, what?
That's how many kids is that? 1, 2,
Yeah, 6.
4, 5. She had
That don't mean she was young. What, 'cause like, what about
It makes the
like
story.
6 kids, like,
It make the story good.
Daddy was always third.
If you drop down the verse 9, where it talks about Isaac and Ishmael burying him, obviously the other kids were too young. Why weren't they there too?
Or that's an interesting thought. Or the age. I'm not saying that I don't know, but I'm saying that I think that there was probably a tighter connection with Ishmael, because even though he was sent away,
Yeah, but that seems interesting too. Because
He came back.
But now he came back to bury him.
yeah.
So did he send them away?
But the other ones,
a couple sand hills away. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, we don't know how far the reach was, but he was connected enough to know that his father was dead, and he came back where the other ones didn't come back. So to me, it seems like there was, and it don't say none of this. I'm just saying it seems as if with Ishmael, at least there might have been a tighter connection. Plus, he had those years, those formative years anyway, before he got pushed away. But when we Shabbat Shalom, when we look at this side, I don't know what to say with side this side family. When we look at the situation, it's like what is that? That's that heater thing. I feel like that verse, I think, helps us to show that there might have been kind of a disconnect with those other seed. And when you think about the fact that, well, it does say, it does just call her a wife in verse 1, but then in verse 6, it says, but the sons of the concubines whom Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts while he was alive and sent them away. So it seemed like they kind of probably got like a what's it called whenever you a severance package. They kind of got a severance package and kind of was put on their way basically. Potentially. I don't know. But the other thing is, not just in the English, but in the Hebrew, that concubine is plural. In the English, it says concubines, but I double checked in the Hebrew, and it's definitely plural. So there was Keturah, who had these other wives. I think that's significant. I think one of the things that's significant about Keturah is that she's the mother of Midian, and we know we had the Midianites, right? So we see that the Midianites come from Abraham, right? Through Keturah. But I'm just saying, Keturah wasn't the only one, right? There was concubines, and then I guess there's sons that aren't named, right? That are left out.
Yes.
Right? Because we see the ones from Keturah, but verse 6 is telling us, but the sons of the concubines, he gave gifts and sent them on their way. So they're kind of all in the same category in terms of getting like this, here, take these gifts and you could go head on with yourself, right? He didn't leave them empty-handed, but they wasn't part of the inheritance.
Basically, this is all saying to me that Abraham had it going on.
And what you mean? What you mean?
Yeah, the whole stable. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, concubines now are, a concubine is a sex wife.
Is what?
A sex wife.
The sex wife.
Yeah.
A girlfriend.
No, that's not a girlfriend because she's a wife. A concubine is a wife, but but that's what she is though. She's a sex wife.
She basically just there to just please you.
Yeah.
That's so not right.
Well, you saying it's not right, but in the context of the culture, that's what they did, and that's what it was. But the difference is now. The difference is though why it's not a girlfriend, and why there is a difference is because it is a wife. So there is a level of commitment there. Everybody knows about each other. It's not like a secret. You're not going over here and sneaking out, going over here and messing with the other one over there. But we have to be careful now not to confuse it with how we see people doing right now. Because the difference is that now I got this one over here and this one over here. This one don't know about that one. You know what I mean? I'm neglecting this one to be with this one. No, we're not saying that. I'm not making a comparison. I'm saying the differences, right? Because now how people function, we just throwing our seed all over the place, and we're not connected to none of these women, right? There's no connection. There was a connection for those moments while we took care of business, and then that was it. And ain't no severance package. And if it is, it's involuntary, right?
And it shows the difference in regards to being, it shows the seed came straight from Isaac, like as far as the blessings was just straight from Jacob and Jacob getting the blessing. I didn't even know that the Midians, I didn't even know they were born.
Yeah.
I'm just now learning that just now. It was like they didn't have, I'm not saying that they're not blessed as well. I'm just saying they didn't even get the roots of the covenant that was guaranteed. Not like that thing's for this line. So it shows what the advantage in that.
Yeah, and so when you think about it, when we look at verse, let's see, verse 5. When we look at verse 5 over there, let's see here, where it says that Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, right? So we think about all that he had in terms of his possessions, right? His things that he had. But the traditions, the oral commands down, the commandments that the Most High said to Abraham that he chose him because he knew he was going to teach the commandments to his children, that heritage, that inheritance he gave to Isaac. The other sons, we know for a fact that the Midianites, they did all types of things, right? They was into all types of idol worships and idolatry, right? So either, well, I'm saying that there was a disconnect in terms of that piece with them, because it seems like when we look over here with how he gave them gifts and sent them on, the inheritance really is the knowledge of the Most High. The most important inheritance that he can receive is what he's gained from the Almighty, that he's able to pass to his children. So I'm saying that they didn't get none of those things. They got some things to get themselves started, probably some couple animals and some jewels or something where they could go and start their journey. But all of the teachings, all of the inheritance, all of that went to, things can always be multiplied. If you got things, it could be multiplied, right? But when it talks about that Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, I think that has to include something more than just like the tangible things.
What is material without the spiritual knowledge? There's nothing. That stuff gets old, it fades away. So like, even like what you got all this whatever they had that you can't even enjoy the material things of life without having spiritual connection, because we'll kind of like put more value to what it really is. So that whole like whatever they had, what is it without what is it?
Well, I guess it's about your perspective, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that now, right?
Yeah, when they don't know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Right, when they don't know, it's different.
When I think of me, I'm saying that now. When I think of the things that I didn't know, I really see that my life was really like nothing. I had no idea. Like you're just lost in 2 years. Like when I look at that.
But did you think it was nothing when?
So
It,
at that time,
I did. What I'm saying is now it's like no wonder I made some of the choices that I made. No wonder I was in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
so you
That's why
said
they say
at
you
that
don't
time,
know to do that.
at that time, they thought that everything was okay. At that time,
At the time, it don't seem like it's a problem.
they don't seem like it's a
I'm saying that in general, outside of the Most High, when you're outside of the Most High, the carnal mind can't understand spiritual things.
Right.
So you can be in the worst situation known to man, but you don't realize it because you're carnal. Your life is it's just my life. It's just everyone lives like this. It's not that big of a deal. There's no connection to the Most High you don't understand that a lot of things that you're going through is directly connected to the fact that you're not connected to the Most High.
Right, but that's what I mean as far as like, even though I wasn't, I'm not gonna, I wasn't looking at it like how I look at it now. I can't say this. I used to wonder when I was going through situations. I would wonder like, why did this happen? I'll be having so much confusion, or even if something happened to kids, I'll be like, how is that happening to these kids? But now, with me being where I'm at now, it's a lot of understanding. That spiritual understanding, knowing like a lot of it, there's no covering to a lot of things. That whole disconnect. That you're not going to be exempt from certain situations, and so that's what I mean by as far as like without that spiritual understanding, you really don't have nothing.
Yeah.
You don't understand. It's confusion. It's like an art of confusion in life.
And then now I'm just thinking about it. It could be that for a time maybe they did find out about the things, right? They did find out about the things, but being disconnected from the father, I'm saying Abraham, there was less of a weight put on those things. You don't have a connection anymore to those things, the teachings that their father taught them. And now these other things, it's all seem more important. So I mean, it could really be either way, but I think that the thought is that the proof is in the pudding, because we can look at the Midianites and we can see that they were away from the Almighty, and they definitely were into all types of idols and things. And just as a side note, we see also the Moabites. It all has the same lineage, right? So we see that when we think about, the inheritance, we think about the knowledge of the Almighty, how how specific these things are, because you take it all the way back, and then they have the same beginnings, right? But then there was a turn, right, with Abraham and his seed, and him and his seed being the chosen. So it really didn't matter how kind of fruitful his loins was, which we see that it was quite fruitful over here, right? That wasn't what the promise was, right?
Seems like his fruitfulness led to a lot of wickedness.
It did. It did.
And even to this day with Ishmael.
It did. It's absolutely right. Not to say that he was in the wrong for doing it, but it's just you see the connection, the ones that was actually connected to him, the promise. You see the difference, because the rest, I think the most interesting part is that the fact that they really, his own seed ends up being like almost like, at least in the wilderness experience anyway, it was the Midianites along with the Moabites. They was like the arch enemies over there.
But that's kind of like to me that's like
Sibling rivalry.
I think it's like a repercussion, like as far as when it goes on right now to this day, as far as when you be having kids or just having massive kids with different multiple women, not just so in women, just doing your own fleshful desires. Your kids is coming up in different environments. They're like you don't know what's going on with them, depending on what mom you're even dads, you don't know what type of people they're around, how to be around. You don't have no control over it 24/7. Even if you are active in there, like it's still like this. So even from being like the arch enemies and being wicked like that, I think that's more like a consequence. How his seed went. That was his seed.
Yeah, it definitely was a scene. But again, we just had to think about we have to always remember the culture though, because in the culture now, he wasn't outside of and it wasn't like he wasn't going left when he was doing all of these things. That was the culture. He was doing what people did, but
It would be interesting to know where the wife, where Keturah came from. Like where, you know what I mean? Like what is her background? in her lineage. Is she a born wife? You know what I'm saying? Or is she, you know?
Oh, well,
Well, wasn't that the thing with Solomon?
I don't know that.
It's like having all those different, maybe with different
You know,
other.
well, he definitely married four women.
yeah,
And they
Yeah.
turned his heart from him.
right.
So,
Yeah, like
but
teaching him to
my
worship
thing
Buddha
is,
and
I
everybody
understand
else.
that it's in the culture or whatever, but I'm saying is,
Oh, what I was gonna say was I'm agreeing with what you're saying in terms of the idea of not having your whole family under one roof. Like it's a problem. It's a problem. You know, you get into these situations in these cities when people are having all these children and siblings killing each other, don't even know each other. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah,
That's kind of how the
so much of
situation.
that with the Del Super St. Clair.
That's kind of how the situation with my brother. They was like they grew up on like two different sides of the fence, and so my brother, it was like east against north, kind of like that, right? So we get in high school and they're fighting each other all the time, and then one of the guys from the east side walked up to my brother, was like, "Yo, your name James McClinton," and my brother was like, "Why you want to know?" And then the guy was like, "That's my dad's name," and they were fighting each other the whole time, and didn't even know they were siblings.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it goes.
I mean, so I'm saying that looking at his situation, I'm not saying that he was. I'm not saying that it was necessarily wrong what he was doing, but we can see now how the dysfunction plays out.
Right, they're still trying to do the same things to this day, but dysfunctional.
Right, right. So there's a big difference because I'm sure that these people at least knew who each other was.
And plus, Abraham had the resources, the blessings to have all of these women.
Yeah.
These dudes out here, yeah, don't got enough money to take one.
Can't take care of your own self, let alone a whole family situation. Right.
But then let's think about the Most High said that the blessing was going to go through Isaac anyway.
Right.
So was
Yeah.
he supposed to stop having children at Isaac? If only that the blessings and all of that stuff was going to come down through that line. So why have any children after that? If only Isaac was going. So then you got to go to the Most High and be like, not and look in hindsight 2020. We looking at the story. You know, we incorporating the culture and all that. But
So you saying he should have just been happy with?
I'm not saying that because he wasn't told that.
Well, you know, the scripture says to be fruitful and multiply.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you know.
I guess they got to multiply.
So then my mind says, look, be like, this is a story. It's the Most High story. This is what he wants to happen.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because otherwise, all righteousness, the Most High would have said, after Isaac, you don't have no more kids.
Yeah.
And then that's the righteous line to go for from there.
I mean, we can talk about the Midianites and all of these sites that, you know, are, you know, descendants, Moabites, but they went astray, right? But Israel did too.
They did this.
Promised seed did
They
too.
did, yeah. From
Look at
messing
us now.
and was messing with them ones too. The Midianite ones, boy, they was it. The Midianites. Israel stayed over there messing with the Midianites
Yeah.
and the Moabites. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's definitely a lesson to learn in the whole situation, right? Because even in looking at the culture, we can see where that can go off, and we can see in real life how it's went off. You know, where you have these situations where you have all of these, you know, people spreading their seed all over the place. They thought that the story about the sower was something that they, you know what I mean? He wasn't talking about that. Okay, so let's keep on going down over here. Let's go down to, we see down verse 12 through 18, where it gives the genealogy of Ishmael. 19. Oh, let's see. 20 where it says, and Yishak was 40 years old when he took Rivka, his wife. Rivka, his wife. Oh, I'm scrolling down, but I didn't scroll down over here.
It's the flood, it's the flood.
2020.
Right there.
Here we go. Okay, so Rivka or Rebecca, right? So something interesting that we see. Let's look at this. Let's look at this a little bit over here. Rebecca. See, this is verse 20. Verse 20.
Never say how old Rebecca was.
I wanted to say that it was interesting that Ishmael had 12 princes in nations.
Yeah. Well, we see that Ishmael, it was said that he too was going to be great, right?
12?
Yeah.
That's a generic 12. Israel.
Yeah, he had
He got
12
his
too.
early. He got his early.
But at the same time, he wasn't the promise though, right? Yeah.
You gotta remember, these people had land, money, and servants. You have 12 kids. All right, go get them, and that's not.
I mean, you really making workers though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they get a certain age.
You making workers. You got all these fields. Oh, thank you very much. You got this field out here that need to be worked. You got all this stuff that need to be done. You know, the hay and all that stuff need a baling. The cow need a milking. The chickens need a whatever. You know what I mean? They need all that stuff. Well, they might have pigs. You know what I mean? You didn't eat it. You just ain't.
You can touch a live pig.
They just
You can have pigs.
other stuff.
Man,
That's
it's
clean
garbage
up.
disposal.
Yeah, it's your land clean.
You had some. You had pigs. You just didn't eat it. It's just not food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must be like getting hungry, probably seen a pig and like, oh, let's eat that. Nah, we got that that's a garbage can. You know? You can have pigs.
Yeah. You just don't eat it.
Yeah.
Right, say sweet. I mean, clean up.
Okay, so looking over here at verse 20, I want to look at Rebecca a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, so Rebecca, let me make this a little bigger here. Rivka, look at what this word means. Let's see, root probably meaning to clog. It's clogged up. Rivka. Right? So verse 21 tells us that Isaac prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. She was sterile. She wasn't having no babies. But she was living up to her name though.
Mm-hmm.
She had some blockage going on over there. She was all stopped up, right? So I thought that was interesting because when we think about Rebecca and even what her name even means, and then when we get to the names of, not the names, but the fact that she has these two sons over here, Finally, well, let's. I don't know. You guys able to focus a little bit over there? I'm having a little party over there. Okay, so when we think about Rebecca and the fact that she was barren, right? Also, if we look, oh, this other thing over here, let's look at this other thing too, because her name's interesting, right? If we look at, I don't know why I can't see the whole picture over here.
The Blue Letter Bible also say,
That's what I'm looking for. Ensnarer. I'm trying to click on this thing, but I can't. So another definition for Rivka is ensnarer. So if you know anything about Rivka, about Rebecca and her role in this whole thing with the whole we'll talk about next week, the whole transference of the blessing. This was all Rebecca's idea, right?
Where for the blood transfer of blessings from Esau to Jacob.
Yes.
But Esau already sold his birthright.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that, but there's two parts though. But I'm saying in the second part, then the next chapter, I'm saying that the plan to do what they did was the ensnarer's plan. It was the mother's plan.
That's right.
Right. So I'm saying that we have this idea of her name meaning to clog and also to be an ensnarer. And then when we look and see in verse 21, where it says that Yitzhak prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and then let's see, that was 21. Oh, it's the same verse. And Yahweh answered his prayer, and his wife conceived. So I wonder what she praying to. I wonder what she praying at all.
You wonder what she was praying about?
I said, I wonder what she praying.
Probably was if they was fighting in her stomach.
Well, I don't know what I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. But what I'm saying is that it tells us that she answered, that the prayers of Isaac were answered. It don't say that her prayers were answered.
Right.
So I don't know if she was. She may have been, but what I'm saying is I'm thinking about her name, right, being that clog. And I'm thinking about the idea of kind of having, a spiritual clog, right? Not being able to flow spiritually, not hearing from the Father, not allowing the Most High to actually move through you, stuff being clogged up. Hold on, what was you gonna say?
Answer his prayer like that's like, I guess I'm comprehending like a lot of times I think some people are protected by someone else's prayer.
Okay.
Like a person could be praying for their family member. This family member could be pure terrible, but he might be just answering the
On the
prayer
strength of you, yeah.
of a relative or loved one that's praying heavily on them. And you're praying for me.
Yeah.
Take people out of situations. I feel like
Yeah, that's a song right there. Somebody pray for me, hand me on their mind. Yeah, so I think that I don't know what her situation was. All I'm saying is that the scripture tells us that Yitzhak prayed and that he answered his prayers. And then I'm just thinking about also the fact that her name means clog. And I'm thinking about the fact that maybe if your spirit is clogged, Most High is not, well, you can't hear what the Most High is saying. You don't know what he's doing because you can't hear because
I never noticed that.
there's a cloud.
Answered his, like it emphasizes his prayer.
Yeah.
With separation. I never noticed that.
Or a lot of times, people trying to show something or whatever, and whatever you gotta use, it's just going way over. When you're blocking, it's going way over your head. It's not even it's blocking it.
Yeah, you can't see it, right?
Whatever it is, it's blocking it.
Pull up Jeremiah 17 and 13.
It says, "O Yahweh, the expectation of Israel, all who forsake you are put to shame. Those who departed from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken Yahweh, the fountain."
So it seems like the Most High is sitting up there referring to his own self as a fountain of living waters, right? If you tapping in. If you ain't tapping in, then them waters ain't doing you a lick of good, right? But it says that he is so he's talking about over here, right? Those who depart from me shall be written in earth because they have forsaken Yahweh. Those ones, they're over there. But he's just saying, kind of as a side thing, Yahweh, the fountain of living waters, which was the part that I was thinking about, the fact that that's who he is. He wants to be that for us, this fountain of living waters. But we could dam stuff up, though, blocking the flow, right? Isaiah 44, 1 through 4.
It's like mixing grease and water. You'll clog your sink up, like things that don't even fly down.
Yeah.
It's like pork grease.
Or hair, like hair being clogged.
Yeah.
Blocked.
Isaiah 44.
Hold on, what's that 44 what?
Yeah, the one.
Okay.
You got it? Okay. But now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus said Yahweh, made you and formed you from the womb, whom helps you. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant, and Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I pour water on the thirsty and floods on the dry ground. I pour my spirit on your seed and my blessing on your offspring. And they shall spring up among the grass like willows by streams of water.
Okay, so we see over here what the Most High is able to do for his chosen, right? For his upright. He's able to pour water on the thirsty and flood those dry grounds, right? If we're able to stay connected, right? And not have a disconnect, not have that clog be happening over there. It's interesting. Let's look at let me pull this up over here.
Now you say that.
Go ahead.
How in Ezekiel, we became the valley of dry bones.
Yeah, right. Totally disconnected from the Most High. Right? No water. Over there just
Damn thirst.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But he said he would pour out his spirit on them.
That's that living water.
Yeah.
Talking about,
Okay, I pulled up over here. Torah. The Torah is a precept or statutes, especially the Decalogue or Pentateuch, the law, right? But this word Torah, the word that's translated as law, it says that it's a derivative of this word here, this 3384. So let's look at this over here. Let me click on it here. Here we go. Yara. Yara, what's that mean? To flow. To flow as water. That is to rain. Transitively to lay or throw, especially like an arrow. Right? So the word that the root of the word Torah, which is the law, the root of that word is to flow like water. So when we think about what the law, what the Torah is supposed to do for us, it's supposed to cause us to flow. The Torah is. The law of Yahweh, the character of the Most High, is supposed to cause us to flow, not be stopped up and clogged, right? But flow. And then so when we think about what was going on over there with the clogged one, Rebecca, where she had this issue where her body was fighting against her, right? She was thorough, right? But that's a lesson that we could think about in terms of from a spiritual perspective, where we have this fertile ground is what we are, right? But we're not allowing for seed to be planted. We're not allowing for water to come and for that thing to grow. We're not allowing for the processes to happen. There's all of these things that are blocking the flow. And that's what the character of the Most High is supposed to do in us, right? We think about the new covenant, the law in your heart, the Torah in your heart, the thing that causes you to flow in your heart. When that thing's manifests, there shouldn't be no clouds, right? Fruitful, right? And so when we look at Rebecca, right, she at that time is kind of the picture for us of not being fruitful, right? She was ripe and ready, but wasn't that happening, right? So we could think about that in terms of our own spiritual situations where we're ripe and we're ready, but there ain't nothing happening. We just barren and sterile, right? Okay, so let's keep on looking at this, right? So it says that Yahweh answered his prayer and Rivka was conceived. So we think about the idea of, this prayer being answered, but then you have this thing that's going on with these children struggling together. And she don't know what's going on, right? She don't know what's going on. If all is well, why am I this way? What's going on? So I'm saying that it seems like it's pointing to, don't say it, it's pointing to the idea that there's some clogs going on, right? There's some extra steps that got to be taken so that she even knows what's going on, right? She's like, something's going on over here. But then even the thing that's going on is kind of building on this thought that we're thinking about, this idea of having these two nations, two separate nations inside of one womb, two different individuals, but they're twins though. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I guess twins could be either 2 eggs or 1 egg, right?
Yeah, 1 egg. Yeah.
We don't know it. Well, we do know because one looked a certain way and the other one didn't.
Yeah.
So it had to be 2 eggs and then 1 seed, right? That's how it goes, right? 1 seed fertilizes 2 eggs. Right. That's a super seed. I don't even know how you work that out with.
He said Isaac.
Isaac is blessed.
That's when the woman drops, the woman happened to drop the egg. Not the egg, so the woman, instead of her dropping one egg, she dropped 2 eggs. And the seed got to both eggs.
One egg fertilized 2 seeds. That's what I just.
No,
That's what I just
the
said.
seed fertilized the egg.
One seed fertilized.
One seed.
Everything to do with the woman.
One.
Nothing have to do with the man.
In the case where when the case where it's maternal twins, when they're not having an egg, the woman, whoever woman is, she dropped 2 eggs instead of 1. She dropped 1 egg per.
Right. But I'm saying 2 eggs got fertilized by 1 seed.
Yeah, that's just how all fraternal twins happen.
Yeah.
So it's only 1 seed.
It's only 1 seed. It's 2 seeds.
One seed is identical.
Each egg different color.
Oh, it's 2
Okay, I'm about
seeds.
to say, yeah, like
Those identical twins. One egg that split apart and died. Created
From the same seed.
2 identical.
Oh, so it's 2 seeds. So 2 seeds made it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
because millions go in at a time.
Millions of little fish.
No, but only one wins though.
Yeah.
As soon as that one get in there,
I think that's why they went to war though. One was trying to push him to get in there. No, I'm getting in. We both going there. No, you ain't supposed to be here.
we had like a little biology class.
Yeah,
over
right.
there.
Real quick.
Okay, very good. I'm glad that we learned about that because I was just saying he just had some super seeds, fertilizing 2 eggs with 1 seed.
So wait, when like you got these women having 7 kids at one time, so they drop 7 eggs and they all fertilize at the same time then.
But that's fake most of the time though.
For real? That's not natural.
One seed splits into 7 different babies.
That's crazy. Okay.
They be putting them eggs in there though.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they put them in there. It's that's GMO.
Okay.
That's GMO babies right there.
Got you.
Okay, let's go back over here because when we think about what's going on inside of Rebecca, she has these 2 nations in her womb. 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. One be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. But building on the idea of Rebecca being and her name being clogged, when you think about somebody who does have a clog in their spiritual situation, they could be kind of operating in 2 fields simultaneously. James 1:8. Look at James 1:8. What did King James say on that? James 1:8. James 1:8.
Here we go. James 1:8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Okay, so double-minded, right? So when we think about this idea of being double-minded, if we think about where we can be outside of the Torah, when we think about where we can be in that place of being clogged up and not being able to flow in the Ruach, you're in a state of being double-minded, where you're operating one way, sometimes, and then you're operating another way other times, right? The scripture over there said that person is unstable in all his ways.
Like that, and they be like Dr. Mr. Hyde.
Well, isn't that the same as like servants and masters in a way?
Yeah, that's exactly saying that. But the problem is that you can't have 2 masters. Exactly. That's the Bible even says that. You just said some Bible verses right there. right? So when we think about this idea, this kind of picture that Rivka is showing for us, this picture of blockage. And what was the other thing it called her? An enchanter. What was it? What was the other?
Ensnarer.
Ensnarer. So when we think about this idea of, when we look at these things, we don't think about the scriptures as being really scientifical, but it's kind of scientifical because when we think about this idea of Rivka being an ensnarer, and then you have her son, the one that she likes the most, by the way, who is the supplanter, right?
Yep.
But it's in his DNA, though. He got to be like that. He got it.
It's in the names.
He got it from his mama.
It's telling the story through the names as well.
Right? Let's look at let's look at this a little closer, right? Let's go down first of all. We're verse 24, and when the days were filled. Yeah, back in Genesis 25, 24, when the days were filled for her to give birth, to see twins were in her womb. The first came out was red all over, like a hairy garment, so they called him Esau. Esau. We look at Esau over here. Esau. Esau means, let's see. No, it means rough. It means original sense of handling rough.
Oh, Edom means red, right?
Yeah, Edom is red. Esau is rough because he was all hairy, right? He was all hairy and rough, right? So let's see. So when we look at Esau, that's Esau, and so Jacob, Yaakov. See, Yaakov means heel catcher. That is supplanter. So when we think about, let's see, because that's how they came out, right? Esau came out, and Yaakov had his heel gripped. When you think, so it says heel catcher, that is supplanter. So you think about, how does a heel catcher, like, why does it even mean supplanter? But it's easy. One of these little kids is walking by, and another one go out and snatch his heel. He just tripped him, right? He tripped him up. That's what happened, right? So when you think about this idea of Jacob, the name's not really, it's not like a positive name, right? It's a negative name, right? But I'm saying that it's connected to his DNA, like from his mom, who was what's his mom again? The ensnarer.
Yeah, ensnarer.
Right? Ensnarer. Yeah. That's like a spider web. Like somebody setting a trap, like a what you say?
Rabbit trap.
Yeah, rabbit trap. Yeah, or like a Venus fly trap. But so Jacob is this ensnarer, who's the younger, who's gonna rule over the older. So the one kind of the promised one has kind of this negative connotation connected with his name and his character. And then how he even goes about himself is kind of like a little sneaky a little bit. This Yaakov.
Maybe when the angel was saying that the older was going to serve the younger, maybe it was prophetic and not really like this is the way it should go. Maybe it was like, oh, he's going to serve him because he's going to do this thing later on down the line.
Yeah.
And you're going to do this too.
Well, I think it was absolutely prophetic. We can't look at it.
Came out first.
Yeah, we can't look at it no other way. That's what it was.
Stop breaking up.
And she was used to make it happen.
Most people look at it like the Most High told them what to do, and then she just basically followed the orders of.
So, hold on, told who what to do?
So
Oh, you saying the Most High told Rebecca what to do?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So basically, she was following like, oh no, Esau ain't supposed to be the one to get the blessing.
I got to put a stop to this.
Yeah,
Jacob.
yeah. I don't see that because it seems as if we're seeing even by the names that we know them by that they behave just like they're supposed to behave. Not to say that he wasn't chosen, but the way they go about it is not upright. It's not upright. Well, not this part.
The way she did it.
This part is we didn't get to the next part where it gets a little bit more sneakier, right? But over here, it's just about who wants the thing more.
But he took the direction from his mom.
Well, I'm saying as far as the hold on.
She already started out for some good.
Okay. Wait a second.
Esau, right here, when he came in, he was hungry. And Esau went out.
This part over here in this chapter, excuse me. This part over here doesn't have anything to do with the mom. This part.
Right.
The next chapter, when they have costumes and everything else, is the other part.
Yeah, this is all Esau. Jacob.
This is just Esau and Jacob.
Yeah.
But you can see you still see the character of Jacob, but he wants the thing more than his.
If you think about it, right? You're both in the womb at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one comes out before you. You're always going, trying to one up the one
And then he came out grabbing his head.
I always get weird arguing like I'm the oldest, like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, now that make you
They
think.
always argue
What the
about
heck
it.
was going on in that belly, man? Just think about it.
Yeah.
For Jacob to come out grabbing his heel. Come on, man, you don't know.
Jay's in there fighting. He's trying to pull him back so he can be first.
Me.
But then it's the fact that Esau came out first. Like they on top right now. And the scriptures do say the head should be the tail. So he came out first. And it's prophetic. When he was saying about how it's prophetic, I completely agree. Because in the end, we gonna be right. We gonna be on top. They on top. So you know.
But if you think about, right, the characteristics of Esau and Jacob, who do you think won that fight in the movie?
Obviously. He won.
Esau broke the finish line.
That's all they did.
Grabbing his foot like, man.
Who came out red and beat up?
Hey. That's a good analogy. Esau came out red, beat up. Get me out of here. I can't be here with him.
I'm just entertaining it.
So when we look at the two, if we look at verse 27 over here, the boys grew up And Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field. So Esau was the manly one, right? He was the stronger one. Like he would go out and like he was out, hunting. Yeah, he was out, right, out in the field, right, doing all that manly stuff. Meanwhile, Yaakov, he was in the house all day. He was in Yaakov was in the house. He just was in there chilling. Like you couldn't get him to come out. Yaakov, you coming outside? What's up? Like you coming out? No, I'm chilling. I'm just in here dwelling in tents, right? With his mom, right? Sucking up all of that, whatever she got for him. Like, wow.
That sound like the men today, though.
You talking about something over there.
And totality.
So when we think about Esau, right, and this manliness that he is, right, and his connection, it says he's the man of the field. What does that mean? Field, country, ground. That's what I wanted it to say. I didn't know it said that, but I wanted it to say that so bad. Ground, land, soil, the earth. When we think about the ground and we think about the earth, we think about this land, and again, Esau being this one who was. Think about this one who was cunning, right? And he knew all about the ground and the earth. Where Yaakov, it calls him a complete man. It calls him a complete man. Right?
So because his name has the meaning, has ground, or it means ground, you said carnality?
No. His name means rough.
Okay.
But what he enjoyed, they say he was a man of the field, which was the ground and the earth. And I'm saying this carnality. So I'm saying that, and then when we look at this whole thing with this whole birthright thing and the fact that he didn't care less about the birthright. Now, we got to do all of these things before we can just keep on talking about this.
Think about, the field, that can go kind of deep.
Well, how so?
We are in the field. You know what I mean? Like,
What you mean?
we're workers in the field. Like, we're
You talking about the man?
out here in the field towards the harvest of the Most High, right?
Yeah.
But we ain't in love with the field, though. And so Esau was in love with the field. So we're in the field for the harvest, and he was in the field for the field.
He likes to hunt for the fun. He likes to kill for sport.
He likes the world.
You go out, you type in hunter, and you see who face they holding up, they just killing stuff for what reason?
What?
Just out here killing. Hundred magazine frozen.
For sport.
They ain't even for sport. Yeah. I think that them in the air. Yeah.
You think Esau was white?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't want to get off into that debate. That's
Yeah, that ain't a debate.
I don't want to get off into that debate.
But I'm saying,
Entrapment.
Let's just keep going. That's a question for after Shabbat.
Okay.
you
Okay.
gotta get to the chapter.
Let's talk about what the birthright is, and then we're going to talk about all of this stuff together, right?
Okay. I want to get off the table.
So,
I got parachute.
so the birthright, we got to do all this so that we can talk about all of this stuff, right? So the birthright, it says, The firstling of man or beast, abstractly, this word primogenitor, which actually means the state of being born first of the same parents. So this word over here, this word that you don't mean, that word means the state of being born first of the same parents. So it's about a position. It's
Really like,
Yeah, like the first son gets, like, the first son.
that's just like, that's like holy.
yeah, that is it. But what I'm saying about this whole idea of birthright, the birthright is non-corporeal. It's non-tangible. It's just like it's just a state of being. The,
What it also got to do with like eldest child handing down like the moral values, whatever from the father to make sure those things stay intact through generations.
well, yes, that's true. But what I'm saying is that the actual birthright is not like a thing. It's not like a thing that I could give you.
It's not your birth certificate.
Yeah, it's not. It's an idea. It's a concept.
It's like an inheritance.
It's just like a thing, like as far as like I'm looking like a thing, like especially in those days, like the first son was always inherited to this. Like it always, like it doesn't say that. It's not a law, but it's like a tradition, like a custom.
Right.
So that's the way I feel like the birth.
It's a non-tangible. The birthright's a non-tangible thing. Well, there's a difference. See, because later, the next chapter, to talk about the blessing. Right. So there's two things. The person with the birthright gets the blessing. Right. But they're not the same thing, even though they both go to the same person. Right. So there's the birthright. That's your right to the blessing.
And nobody can come in between. Thank God he gave up their birthright.
So when we think about the birthright, again, it's this intangible thing that he could care less about, because he's just about natural things. He just want to go out and hunt something. Exactly. What do I want with this thing? I'm just going to die.
I'm like, bro, did you understand what you were giving up? Like, but his state of mind, his state of mind at the time.
Eventually,
He just came out to feel
I mean, not
nothing. State of mind.
oh yeah, because okay, so let's just think about Esau for a
His
moment,
state of mind.
because he's telling us all about these characteristics that we want to stay away from, right? Because his situation, he was just out just enjoying life, so much so that he just was totally depleted and just couldn't even do nothing until he was just able to just get some food and just to feed his flesh.
He was white, he was baby.
But it just goes to show his thought process to say that even say regardless of being that family, for him to say like what did he say? I'm gonna die. Look, I'm going to die. So why should I have birthright? So that whole thought process just show how he didn't value life. Like just to be like.
Well, he didn't value
Value his life.
what he didn't value. He didn't value that birthright because it can't touch it.
Yeah, he was just saying what he was saying about that, about he about to die. He said, I'm so hungry, I'm about to die. Let me just get away his birthright. He didn't understand
Exactly.
how
Yes.
precious it was until it was gone.
He don't care about spiritual things.
Oh yeah, because he definitely started crying at the end like, remember you wanted to kill Jacob.
Yeah, but after the tangible thing though, the blessing. The blessing is what you get.
Let's not forget about the mama who set it all up, but I ain't gonna even get off into this.
So we're not talking about the next part. We're just talking about this part over here, the part that's the intangible part that he don't care about.
His state of mind.
So when we think about that, right, in terms of from a spiritual perspective, how much do we have in common then with this Esau? As a word, spiritual things, I could take or leave it. Really, I could take it or leave it. I don't really care about these spiritual things. I need to deal with something that I can touch, something that's tangible.
Carefully with tears, and he couldn't get behind that. Are you on this bloody meat over heaven? He couldn't get it, no matter how much he cried. He didn't understand how important it was.
Yeah. And so when we look at this, when we look at the difference, right? We see where Esau's love was. His love was in the field, in the ground, in the earth. Where Yaakov, he valued the birthright. That's why he wanted it so much. That's what he wanted. He was trying to get it from the beginning. He was trying to get out first, but he wasn't never able to get out. But once he was out, he was still on it. Like he never forgot, right?
I bet he had all kind of things he
He was fighting his whole life.
This is the one we talking about. They've been on this probably. Esau probably didn't give it to him 100 times. Yeah, he finally did, right? Because he desired that thing though. And so it shows us how we have to be about those things that you can't touch. It's not a tangible thing. It's not something I can physically just pick up and give to you.
So can we even be an ensnarer to get it?
Well, that's the thing now. When we look, we have to do all things in righteousness. The one thing that we see from this is that he had the strong desire for that non-tangible thing. And this is not so bad in terms of, him wanting the thing and then him just making it's a fair exchange. You agree to it, it makes it a fair exchange. Right?
Yeah.
I'll give you this bowl of soup for the birthday.
You can't even say he stole it. Like,
there's nothing that could be said about this. The only thing you could say about this is that Esau didn't value what was his.
Right. He didn't ensnare Esau, like set some type of trap so Esau would be next to death and then
Nah.
No, he asked for that meat. He asked for it.
Yeah.
He didn't try to.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it's blood in the food. Like, why you want this food? It's blood.
Yeah. Over here, we don't see the connivingness. Over here, we just see a strong desire for the birthright that Yaakov possesses and that Esau does not possess. But I'm saying all that just to say that that's how we have to be about these things. It's not just kind of just like a whole hum kind of a thing, right? This is life. Like this is life, right? The other stuff that is going on, that's not life. Life is, Yeshua said that he is the way, the truth. Did he say life? What did he say right there? What verse is that? If he said life, then I don't know what to say. I don't know. We about to find out. I want to just pull it up. Because if it's life, then we got a problem. If he said life right there, then we got a problem.
I am the way, the truth, and the life.
He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So that means outside of Yeshua, then I don't know what you're doing, but that's not life.
It's like that.
Well, the only thing I'm gonna help you with is you said life.
It is
Okay, there you go.
It is death.
Yeah.
Like, if anything outside of him is death.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's death. Like, it's just.
It's definitely like you can't hear.
No, it's death. It's death. No, for real, because I feel like I can get a little deeper to it. It's just death. Like, you're liable to. You're allowed I'm just saying, that always be heavy on our people strong like this. People my age on heavily on drugs. Like this, we was just living life. Like we just was living life. You know, killing yourself. Like I mean, I even watched a girl on Hulu where she was bitten. She's about 24, but she was bitten on the internet saying that all the all our brothers killing each other. It's like, come on now, what y'all doing to y'all parents? You know what I mean? Like we all y'all all just out there killing each other. Y'all got y'all minds going for that. So anything outside of him is good.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm witnessing, we see it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Like, just anything outside of him is good.
There's no way that things right into man.
But they think they live it. You know,
Yeah.
No way, I see right to you.
Just like Esau thought he was living. I mean, so I'm saying that when we think about this, and thinking about it from a spiritual perspective, you know, Yaakov, he desired this thing, right? That this non-corporal thing, he desired it, and he did what he had to do in order to get it.
It made me wonder what his mom possibly shared with him for him to even have that desire like that. Yeah, because just like the whole thing happened. Like most I don't live on time. You don't live. It already happened. It was already the blessing money went to Jacob. So no sign of offer like that. So that's why he allowed it to be tricked in whatever happened. What I'm just saying, as far as for Jacob to have that knowledge to even value that like that. And like,
But like you said, there was this war, it's a eternal battle.
We always have been spirit.
It was already naturally in there. It wasn't her influence.
So we looking at all of this, right? And we thinking about Jacob and Esau, but I want for us to think about ourselves, though, right? Because we started off talking about Rebecca and the cloud, and she inside of her, she got this double-mindedness working inside of her, right? And then outside of that, then now she has one that's really strongly after that which is non-corporal, and then the one that's strongly after those things which are of the earth. But we have this same situation inside of us, though, right? We have our carnal mind, right? Inside of us, we have inside of us this strong desire to feed our flesh, just built in. So you got these two, you got Jacob and Esau living inside of you, right? Your carnal mind just wants you to just feed it with all of your carnal pleasures.
You know what, Sean? I agree with that because, and I'm late and I can pick up on it. That's aggressive me. When we apply that to our lives today, I always ask myself, like, for instance, am I selling my birthright? We're called to do what? We're called to be what? Are we selling our birthright too? You know what I'm saying? So those are consequences that we can face because many times we sold our birthrights when we chose to do wrong, you know, opposed to doing what was righteous. You know?
Yeah.
Saying we don't want to be Israel.
Right. I hear that all the time, man. I hear people giving up. But like we said, like I always say, Youngkin, and you know this. People like that are the rocks that the seeds were thrown on. They receive this and run with it with joy, and then at some point they expire. They fall down, get beat up by Torah onlys. Next thing you know, they turn around and join them. And then they are the rocks that the seeds were thrown on. They sold their birthright, you know? So then they turned over to anti-Mashiach.
When you think about this again from a spiritual perspective, you know, this is our reality, which side are we going to choose? Are we going to decide that desires after those things which are spiritual things, or are we going to decide to be on the side of those things which desire the carnal and the earthly things? Um, when we look at Esau, he didn't care about the birthright, because again, the birthright is not a thought, it's an idea, it's a concept. But Yaakov knew what that was, and so when we when we say that we want to desire after the Most High, our life has to actually look the same way, right? We start off as being like, I guess we're like Rachel, right? But we have these two things that are warring inside of us. Sometimes one wins and sometimes the other one wins. But at the end of the day, there has to be that transition that happens, which in Rebecca's situation, it was the birthing of the babies, right? So there was a transition that happened, and then at some point, one got to take control of the situation, right? It can't be that continual striving thing, right? Because James tells us double-mindedness, you're unstable in all of your ways, right? It got to be one way or the other.
I kind of missed the last part you said, because I was looking. The last part was written in the nursery in Psalm 73. Like I was trying to find exactly where it started, but he was talking about with his mom, how he became like the wicked prosper, and they had no respect for him. But he was like saying how like if he speaks like that, he would feel like he deceived the Most High's children. He didn't understand like how they're like this way until he went into the temple or whatever. Seeing that it all falls down. So as far as I'm just looking as far as like Esau not having a value for this whole birthright thing, in the end, you know what I mean? As far as once the tangle best we've seen, it did fall in that
Yeah. So but that, when we think of, like, when we look at the Psalms, sometimes we look at the Psalms to forget that he was a human being. So sometimes we can see his processes as he's writing his things, right? Where he's looking at the wicked and they're prospering. Why is it like that? But when we
sometimes you can possibly get that sense of discouragement, but the closer it gets to the Most High, and then he said it like suddenly, I know you make them fall to ruin. How suddenly they'll ruin, completely swept away with the destruction. Like it's like a reminder, like they're like, you know what I mean? They're like they're
right, but you have to get to that place though. I'm saying that sometimes we start off with the part, and then we're looking at the wicked prospering, and then we're just stuck right there. You got to be able to get to the part where you're able to accept that that's happening and still go forward. Because we'll look at that, and then that'll shape our whole situation. Like, I might as well just give up. I can't even get ahead. Look at this person who's out here living crazy, and they get everything they want, hope and desire. Right?
I'm not envious of the relationship.
I look at it is, the wicked, this is their time. You know what I'm saying? So let them prosper. Because this is all they got. You know what I mean? After this is
But they're in the knowledge of knowing that they got is really nothing. But don't get messed up. Like it doesn't mean he's saying that.
they're thinking
I'm not saying that I wouldn't like a nice dinner or two, or 3 or 4 poor. What I'm saying is like, if that's all you got, though, you don't have like nothing. Or nothing. If that's really all that you got,
It's throwing up your treasures on earth.
It's nothing. Like,
The wind blows, gonna blow
but it
it.
took, like you said, it took for me to even like learn what I know now. To even know a lot of things I put down here didn't serve no purpose. You know, it didn't do nothing for it. It didn't make me progress. It didn't make my life stress free. It literally did nothing. So if you need to get
Well, I
that
was saying for her, probably you got more haters.
more haters,
you know
more
what I'm saying?
strife, more
Yeah.
dysfunction. Like,
But they think that stuff comes from the Most High. They don't understand it. It's literally not coming from the Most
but
High.
that's what he's saying as far as like connecting that, as far as like one, you gotta get to a level to know that it's not nothing. And I'm not downing anything, any of those. I'm not saying don't have materials. I'm not saying that at all. But if that's all you got,
Then
Yeah. Right. And it's about you know, where is your heart at? It's not that you know, the other thing is that when we think about the blessings of the Most High, mostly all of the blessings are like when you look in Deuteronomy 28, those are physical blessings. Those are physical things, that tangible things, right? That you get, right? So when we think about this idea of they have all of this stuff, and we don't have this way. That just happens to be the way that it is, but it don't have to be. It's harder for us to go out and do the same things, but it's not impossible, right? It just we gotta do a lot extra, right? Because we behind we behind enemy lines, right? But I'm saying that we have to still maintain our focus, though, and realizing that we never want to um, be striving for those things, but be striving for the Most High. And then when we strive for the Most High, Yeshua said, whenever seek you first the kingdom, and then all those things that's on the list will be added unto you. All the things that's on the list is just regular things that we need.
but we see that in the word a lot. When you look at the things that Abraham had, he had all the material. He had all of that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it comes, that comes along with it. It's not like he's going to have out there struggling or whatever, following them. But when you gotta get to that, you gotta
Right.
that transition is the struggle.
Yeah. And so again, thinking about Rebecca, what why is that her characteristic? Why is being clogged the thing that's her, that's who she is? Like, why is that the thing? And why is it that it seems as if she had to depend on somebody else in order for her to even receive a blessing in the first place, for her womb to be opened, right? So we have to be able to really look at ourselves to figure out, like, why is my situation like this? Because most of the time it's a effect of something else. Something else is happening, which is keeping you in a specific spot. That unless we go back and look at all of these things, we just gonna be stuck right there. And again, going back to what I already said, the law, the character of the Almighty, gives you that flow, right? So maybe you got some transgression you ain't even look at. Maybe you got some transgression you never even really dealt with, right? You got something that's clogging, something that's damming up the stream.
That is so true though, because like I would have never thought that I would have been able to do some of these, some like following the transition in the law. this would have seemed so hard to me just a few months ago. It would have been like impossible. Like it would have been like I would have no way seen myself being able to desire and want to do the law and food. And even like even certain foods like that, it wasn't. Just a minute ago I couldn't do it. Like just a minute ago it was like, oh no way. Okay, I mean, like this is how I like that claw, that whole thing with your desires is this. But now it's not like it's not like the law changed and it's kind of like compromise and now it made it easy. It's the same thing, but just letting go of that them certain little things that's hindering certain desires that obviously was more important at one point in time. That meant more to me.
Yeah, most people's desires are their belly, you know what I mean? And you talk to Christians, and that's, they can't give up that point. They're like, oh, no, I need my head.
From the root to the tip.
My nigga went as far as to say that Peter is a nigga.
He ate
When he went to court, when she came down, that was the vision about the buffet he was about to eat at Cornelius. Kind of so we were talking about Rebecca, right? And the meaning of her name and being called. And so if we look at that like spiritually, and you're not really focusing on the Most High, you got a call at you in order for your spirit to even hear it, right? And the world has got you so caught up that you can't even hear it, even though there's a bullhorn at your ear. So that's that call, right? And then I started thinking about somebody who's deaf. Sometimes needs somebody to intercede for them when there's sirens or someone's speaking, or because they can't hear them yet.
Right.
So if we relate that to a spiritual, like type of thing, right? That if we're constantly focusing on where the world is, and it's so noisy that the spirit can't even really connect with us, right? But the more we turn back to the spirit, you can hear that whisper, right? Even in a noisy room, you can hear that whisper because you have unclogged yourself spiritually.
Right.
So that's actually thinking about what you're saying as far as the meaning of the name and that being part of the attributes of the person and taking it on a spiritual level, right? Knowing that the blessings and the tangible things that'll come later. But you gotta be right spiritually in order to even get a blessing. Or else it'll be receiving a curse and thinking it's a blessing.
Right. Exactly.
So that's kind of what I was thinking on.
Yeah. Right. And that's, I mean, that's what we have to be able to gain from this whole situation, right? And see, you know, we have this story here that literally did happen. The story literally did happen, like it did, just like that. But then now, beneath the surface, we could see from a spiritual perspective lessons that we're able to learn from why the story happened and how that could even be, you know, made relevant for us even right now. You know, we have to get to the place where we have to be able to get to the place where we're able to actually be led by the Spirit. We have to be able to get to the place where we're actually be able to hear what the Father wants for us to be doing. Otherwise, you're talking about being clogged up, right? You talk about from a physical perspective. Whenever your blood don't flow, you die. That's called a heart attack, right? That's what that's called. When your blood stops flowing, when your oxygen can't move, guess what? That's called asphyxiation. Guess what? You die from that, right?
And I've been watching it I've seen them like it'd be so crazy how he operates as far as like causing certain situations, put people in certain situations, trying to get their attention. And a lot of people miss that. You know what I'm saying? There's times he put you through a certain so you can come in. And it makes me think of that one person, I forgot who it was, he was a king. But like he kept trying to get his attention, and he kept turning around. He kept praising him. Another God, I don't remember what that was. It was I think this was an Israel king, or Arab, but another was better. This one he kept doing stuff to, and he just kept. This one is not better. But the one I'm talking about, he kept like doing little stuff to him. And instead of him turning to the most high, he kept going to those crazy more other guys. Like they kept running more, going and looking to them for more connections. And a lot of times I watch them put people in certain situations, even myself. Put a situation like in them heavy to get their attention. They go over like it don't make them turn to them. You know, it
It
don't
just
bring
reminds
them
me
to
of dudes like street guys, like they'll go through certain situations and will end up going abroad or shot multiple times. They make it out of it, and then after so many chances, like that last time, like they end up perishing or going like in jail. But those situations were given to wake them up, like they will never refuse it.
I watch my daughter daddy, like you know, you get shot in your leg or whatever, like certain little wake up calls, like your dad, some of that. You live through. There's people who get shot one time, you know what I'm saying, or just random situations, and that don't be enough to really bring you to him. But I mean, just watching how amazing he is, because when you come to him, he's going to show his face. But when you don't, it's like.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? The thing is what it is. You don't think what's so many chances. It won't be. I'm just gonna think of a little chance right in time. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I think that as far as this is concerned, when we think about Jacob, Esau, we think about the idea of, you know, putting our focus in the right place, causing for our desires to be on the most high and, not on this world and the things of this world is the only way. It's the only way that we're able to actually function through this. The only way we're actually able to navigate through this life. We just found out that you can't even have life without Yeshua, right? Because he is life, right? So, we have to get to the place where, the things that the Most High is calling for us to be doing, those are the things that we're striving after. We can't look at, all these other things and be just putting the Most High and his thoughts and his will and his desire and just putting that on the side, because we see where the end of that is, right? Where eventually you're gonna get to the place where it's nothing and you give it away for nothing, right? Okay. All right. That being said, I want to end this stream thing so we can do something else real quick. Okay, so we'll go back and look at the next part of this whole thing with Jacob and Esau next week, y'all willing. Well, I guess it'll be the week after next. So okay, but all right.
Last week.
I know we're getting there, ain't it? Okay, so